I'm Bruce Apar, and you're watching Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog. Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog is brought to you by Chase Media Group, provider of multimedia marketing solutions for an omni-channel marketplace and publisher of The Penny Saver. And we always thank our CEO, Carla Chase, and my co-host, who cannot be here today, Frank J. Rich, for putting the show on the air and bringing it to you not only on TV, but on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube, search for Townlink TV or Bruce the Blog, and all of the Bruce the Blog shows will come up, all of the Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog shows. And we like to bring you interesting people who are making contributions to the community in very positive ways and hopefully affecting and improving the quality of life for all of us. You may have noticed on the opening slate, as it's called, that we have some very interesting guests today. There were three names there. You may have recognized one of them at least, Marc Antony. Now there is a Marc Antony that a lot of people know, a very successful restaurateur in the Hudson Valley, but he's not our guest. Maybe we'll have him on one day. But the three people whose names you saw are actually characters, dramatic characters in plays, and we'll explain why they're the guests in a minute. Those of you who watch late night TV know that there are a lot of very dramatic changes afoot in late night TV. Of course, Jimmy Fallon now has taken over the Tonight Show on NBC, and it was recently announced that Stephen Colbert is going to succeed David Letterman on the Late Show on CBS. And of course, Jimmy Fallon succeeded Jay Leno. So there are a lot of changes on talk shows on big time TV. And so we thought, hey, maybe our program should get with the program and do something different on this particular episode of Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog. And so we are going to bring you something quite different than anything we've done in the last 3 years that the show has been on the air. And one of the things that Chase Media Group and I personally are very, very fond of and advocates of and champions of is community theater and the performing arts. And we really urge you to patronize community theater, whether it's in your immediate town or maybe in other towns that are neighboring or in the Hudson Valley. There's a lot of great community theater, local theater, that goes on in our region. You know, they say all politics is local. Well, performing arts are local too, and we really feel it's important to support the performing arts in our immediate vicinity. A lot of towns, by the way, have arts councils, and because I'm attached at the hip to Yorktown, I know that the supervisor of Yorktown, Michael Grace, has recently started an arts council. If your town has one, great. If it doesn't, maybe you want to look into starting an arts council in your town to promote the performing arts on a local level, because you know there is a lot of very, very good talent that lives next door to us. You don't have to go to Broadway necessarily to see it, and you certainly don't have to pay Broadway prices. That much is for sure. So what we're going to see in today's show are three monologues. Now, some people like to go bowling, they belong to bowling leagues, or maybe they play cards with their neighbors, regular card games. So what I like to do, my bowling league, is acting. And a lot of people, of course, maybe people act in community theater locally, and a lot of people, including me, take acting classes like adult education, except there's a lot of young people who do it as well, so you don't have to be an adult. So what we're going to see today are 3 monologues, all done by the same performer, by the way, who you may recognize. Any resemblance to me is purely not coincidental. The first one, and I did all of these in my acting class, Howard Meyer acting program. I'm going to plug Howard and my teacher, Rachel Jones, as well as Howard Meyer. They do workshops, monologue workshops and other things like that. And I did these in the workshop, and I thought, hey, let's put them on video and make a show. Let's put on a show. So the first one is a very unusual, you might call it eccentric monologue, written by a playwright whose name you may not know, David Ives, and it's called A Singular Kind of Guy. And Mitch is the character, and he is at a singles bar talking to this young woman and has a deep, dark secret he's going to disclose to her. So let's watch Mitch and A Singular Kind of Guy by David Ives. I know what you're thinking. You're looking at me and you're saying to yourself, average guy, normal human being, nothing out of the ordinary. Well, that's what I felt too, for lots of years. Boy, was I wrong. Now I look back, I think I always really knew the truth about myself underneath. It's like sometimes I'd look in the mirror in the morning and I'd get this weird feeling like what I was looking at was not really what I was looking at. Or else I'd be standing in a crowd of people at a party and suddenly get this idea like I'm standing in a huge empty space without anybody around me for miles. Episodes of vastation, if you know that beautiful word. And then one day I had I don't know what you'd call it, a mystical experience. I'm walking down Lex over in the 30s when I go by this office supply shop. Just a crummy little place, but I turn and I look and I see an Olivetti Portable 250 electric typewriter. Are you familiar with that particular model? Have you ever seen the old Olivetti 250? Well, let me tell you, it is sublime. The lines, the shape, the slant of the keyboard, it's all there. It's a thing of beauty. Anyway, I'm looking at this thing and it's like I recognize it from someplace. It's like I'm looking at family somehow, like I'm seeing a long-lost older brother for the first time. And that's when I suddenly realize, that's me, right there. That thing in the window is what I feel like on the inside. The same lines, same shapes, same aesthetic. And what I realized was, I am a typewriter. No, really, a typewriter. Well, all those years, I thought I was a human being, but on the inside, I'm really an Olivetti Portable 250 with automatic correctability. And you know what? I can't even type. Well, needless to say, this revelation came as a shock. But all of a sudden, it became clear to me how come I always got off on big words like vastation, or phenomenological, or subcutaneous. Big words, or what a typewriter's all about, right? Oh, the problem is it can be a lonely thing, being a typewriter in a world of human beings. And now here I am being replaced every day by word processors. Who needs a typewriter anymore? Here I finally figure out what I really am. I'm an antique already. Plus, there's my love life, which is problematical, to say the least. The difficulties involved in a typewriter, finding a suitable partner in this town, are prodigious. But at least now I know how come I always loved not just sex. Sex is anywhere. But touch, being touched and touching. Being touched is part of the nature and purpose of typewriters. That's how we express ourselves, and the human person along with us. Hands on the keyboard and the right touch. Fire away. Yeah, woman's hands. That's practically the first thing I notice. A nice set of shapely fingers, good manicure, no hangnails, soft skin. I'm not a finger fetishist or anything, you understand, it's just You've got a pretty nice pair of hands yourself there. That's what I noticed. That's how come I stepped over here to talk to you. I know this sounds all pretty loony, but I've never told anybody this before. Somehow I just felt like I could trust you. What? I beg your pardon. I don't understand. You're not really a woman. Sure, you're a woman. You're a beautiful woman. So, you're what? You're actually a sheet of paper. 10-pound bond, ivory tinted, pure cotton fiber. Well, glad to meet you. I call being typecast. Next up is one of the most famous orations in all of recorded literature by the greatest, most famous writer in all of literature, William Shakespeare. And this is Marc Antony's famous speech about Brutus and about Julius Caesar. And really, it speaks for itself. Just to set it up very quickly, Brutus, of course, has led the coup that murdered Julius Caesar. And Marc Antony, who was a protege of Julius Caesar, is getting up at his funeral, sort of unannounced, after Brutus has already spoken. And Marc Antony, in his own clever way, wants to let everybody know that it's Brutus who's responsible for the murder of Caesar, without actually saying that. In fact, he uses a classic case of irony to make his point. So let's look at Friends, Romans, and Countrymen, Marc Antony in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones, so let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, so are they all honorable men, come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure he is an honorable man. I speak now not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar. And I must pause till it come back to me. Okay. Yes, okay, you caught me red-handed. I'm watching that character, pun intended. And finally, baseball is the national pastime, as we've been told since we were all very little. So if baseball is the national pastime, I guess football is the national passion. Pastime implies sort of calm and measured, and passion is football, is emotion, and Sturm and Drang, and a lot of other things going on there. Testosterone, that was the word that eluded me. So you may be familiar with the movie Any Given Sunday, starring Mr. Pacino and a lot of other people, by the celebrated filmmaker, controversial filmmaker as well, and I would call him a robust filmmaker, Oliver Stone. Any Given Sunday. Here is a scene from the movie when Coach Tony D'Amato is talking to his players in the locker room at a very important turning point in the season and in the game. And so let's watch Coach D'Amato in Oliver Stone and John Logan's Any Given Sunday. To the biggest battle of our professional lives. All comes down to today. Now either we heal as a team or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. Oh, we can stay there. Get the stuff kicked out of us. Or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell, 1 inch at a time. I can't do it for you. I'm too old. I look around, I see these young faces, and I think I made every wrong choice a middle-aged man can make. Pissed away all my money, believe it or not. Chased off anyone who's ever loved me. And lately I can't even stand the face I see in the mirror. When you get old in life, things get taken from you. That's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. Oh, you find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are all around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the friggin' difference between winning and losing, between living and dying. I'll tell you this. It's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. It's the 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we're going to die as individuals. That's football, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you going to do? Well, that's about it. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember, when Bruce the Blog listens, People talk. And remember, support your local arts. Thank you.